So welcome back to video 4, where we are talking about growing self-awareness. Now, we began this discussion in May during Mental Health Awareness Month, where the theme for 2025 is shifting from awareness into action. That is being proactive with your mental health. And what I've been sharing in the first 3 videos is how emotional intelligence can be a tool or a skill to help you manage stress and therefore manage your emotional well-being. And we started off with the foundation of emotional intelligence, which is self-awareness. And so for the first 3 videos, we've been talking about self-awareness. And even though we're in June, I want to close out with this final video to help you grow your self-awareness, or at least to be able to take the steps to begin growing your self-awareness. Why is self-awareness so important? Well, first of all, self-awareness can help us change unhelpful behavior patterns. Self-awareness can help us be more in tune with how we are feeling, and self-awareness can help us be more aware of thoughts that may not be helpful to us. And so you can't change what you're not aware of. You can't change what you don't know exists. You can't change what you don't realize is happening within yourself. And that's why self-awareness is so important. So in the first video, I talked about the thought, emotion, behavior model. And if you could imagine that model as being a triangle, and on each corner there is a label: thought, emotion, behavior. Having a model can help you to begin to visualize this process that's happening within yourself. Because just a reminder, these processes are neurobiological, neurochemical. They're happening in the brain and they're happening in the body. And they happen very, very fast, lightning speed. And so as you become familiar with this thought, emotion, behavior model, you can begin to reverse engineer and recognize how you are behaving and be able to backtrack and ask yourself, what's the thought, what's the emotion? And be able to change that pattern with practice. So in video 1, we talked about this behavior model. Thought fuels emotions, and your emotions impact and influence your behavior. And sometimes you have emotion first, which triggers a thought and then triggers behavior. So being very familiar with that as a foundation of self-awareness is going to help you to be able to recognize what your patterns are and to be able to change them. In video 2 and 3, we talked about, once you recognize the thought is fueling the emotion or vice versa, what happens next? Well, there are 2 things that you can do. The first thing that you can do is to do a 6 seconds pause. And the reason 6 seconds is significant is because science shows that it takes about 6 seconds for emotions to dissipate. When you actually pause, you have the opportunity to shift from the emotional centers of the brain into the logical centers of the brain and be able to get the 2 to work together, which is what emotional intelligence is all about. The second thing that you can do once you've paused is name that emotion. And we talked about name it to tame it. Which is coined by Mark Seligman from Positive Psychology. There is science that shows that when you name that emotion, that you can actually create this shift from the emotion brain to the logical brain or rational brain and get the 2 to work together. Now, here's an important step while all of this is happening as well. You don't want to shut down the emotion and just go straight into the rational mind. You do want that integration of the 2. So it requires that you do something that you're probably not going to feel comfortable with. That is, feel the emotion. You might be thinking, I gotta feel my anger. I gotta feel my frustration, or I gotta feel the grief. They don't feel good. Here's the thing. First of all, we have the opportunity in these moments to shift our thinking about our emotions. We're often told, especially in the workplace, don't bring your emotions into the workplace because they just create drama and chaos and mess. And that's far from the truth. The biggest and most successful thought leaders know that we make our best decisions when we combine emotion and thought. And this is what I'm introducing to you. And so in order to do that, we have to let go of the negative beliefs or the false myths about unpleasant, painful, uncomfortable emotions. When we can learn to look at them objectively and say, oh, this emotion is giving me a signal, this emotion is giving me data, then we can actually learn to harness some wisdom, some insight from any emotion, whether it's a pleasant emotion or an unpleasant emotion. There's data there that we can use to make a decision, to make a better decision that's in alignment with our rational brain and our emotional brain. So that is the gist of growing self-awareness. And in order to name it, to tame it, and to really dive into understanding what our emotions are telling us, emotional literacy is important. And I talked about that in video 2 or 3. I think it was video 2. Having the vocabulary to name the spectrum of emotions that we have. We have more than happy, sad, glad, mad, angry. There's a spectrum of emotions, like a spectrum of colors in our lives. I mean, if you look at my background, that's one color green. If you look at the color of my blouse, that's another color green. And then there's another color green in the plant behind me. That's just an example of how colors and emotion, there are all of these nuances. And the more we can get in tune with the emotion that we're feeling, the more data we can access and be able to make good decisions, make decisions that are in alignment with all of us, not just our brains, but our brains and our hearts and our bodies, our whole being. That is a wrap on self-awareness, the first domain of emotional intelligence. So now I'd like to share with you an announcement. June 6th is Emotional Intelligence Day, and I am going to be sharing a video with you on the emotional intelligence tool that I like to use in order to not only grow my self-awareness, but make better decisions and take actions on those decisions from both a place of mind and heart, emotional intelligence. And then secondly, I am offering 6 free emotional intelligence coaching sessions. So what will happen is you'll sign up, schedule a meeting with me, and we'll talk about what area of life you like to tackle. I'll give you a link to take an assessment that is created by 6 Seconds Emotional Intelligence Network. And then I will coach you for 50 minutes on that assessment based on those results. And then we can talk about how you can go even further in building your emotional intelligence and being able to apply these tools and skills to change your patterns. So that's all for today. I look forward to connecting with you again on Friday, June 6th, to talk about my favorite emotional intelligence tool from 6 Seconds. If you're interested in taking up my offer on the emotional intelligence assessment and the 50-minute free coaching session, there's a link in the comments. Just sign up and schedule an appointment with me, and let's talk about how you want to change behavior, thoughts, and make better decisions to change your life.